attest to its role in advancing Israel's annexation of Palestine and destruction of its people. The consequences of systematically targeting, dispossessing and depriving Palestinians of their means of survival are not only humanitarian, they're existential. Before our eyes, Palestinians endure an ongoing genocide met with global complicity. Meaningful international action is both overdue and urgently required. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the European Centre for Law and Justice.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Commission of Inquiry cannot continue to willfully ignore the overwhelming evidence supporting and documenting the vast sexual atrocities committed by Hamas and other terrorists in Gaza on October 7th and beyond. Not only were these crimes documented and widely reported in the media and even in a UN mission report, but a recent report by an independent nonprofit gives detailed documentation and evidence of the same, concluding that the attack was a coordinated assault in which sexual violence was used to terrorize victims, families, communities, and society at large, and that sexual and gender-based violence formed a central component of the October 7th attack and of the hostages in captivity. Despite the abundance of credible evidence, the Commission has chosen to disregard these findings, apparently because they conflict with its predetermined narrative. The sheer weight of documented proof now compels the Commission to rectify its prior reports, which unjustly condemned Israel, and to issue accurate, evidence-based findings on sexual and gender-based violence. The Commission's mandate requires it to investigate all alleged violations of international humanitarian law and international human rights law by limiting its investigative focus to only certain actors and categories of undocumented violations. The Commission has acted beyond its authority and in violation of the independence, impartiality, and objectivity required of its members. Thank you.
I now give the floor to the Institute for NGO Research.
Thank you, Mr. President. It appears that the COI is finally willing to address at least some, though most remain largely ignored, of the atrocities committed by Hamas against the Palestinian people. Yet, despite its mandate, and despite the fact that it has been granted millions of taxpayer dollars to examine the root causes of the Palestinian conflict, this commission still refuses to address the elephant in the room: the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. The IRGC is the primary entity driving conflict in the Middle East, and in particular the Palestinian conflict with Israel. It has exported its millenary and genocidal ideology to Palestinian armed groups. The IRGC finances and trains Hamas combatants and disseminates its terror propaganda across the globe as part of its foreign influence ops, allowing the terrorist organization to entrench its occupation of Gaza and to commit atrocities not only against Israelis, but also Palestinians. Mr. President, why does the COI refuse to examine the role of Iran and the ruling IRGC? Why does it refuse to document its incitement of and acts of genocide? Why does it not call for boycotts and sanctions against IRGC entities and officials? Why does it not call for referral of IRGC leaders to the ICC? Why is it refusing to spend any of its vast resources to investigate the real root causes of this conflict? Thank you.
I now give the floor to the representative of the internationallawyers.org.
We thank the Commission for its report. The Commission's findings highlight Israel's failure as the occupying power to fulfill its obligations under the Fourth Geneva Convention and customary international law to protect the Palestinian population and safeguard their right to life amidst genocide. As the Commission finds, settler violence in the West Bank functions as a means of implementing Israeli state policy aimed at displacing Palestinians and facilitating the annexation of territory. Israeli security forces have acted as a shield for violence, accompanying and protecting settlers during attacks against Palestinian civilians. Furthermore, Palestinians are systematically labeled as terrorists to justify the use of deadly force against them. Israel's law and institutions are insufficient to deter settler violence. Widespread impunity, driven by police inaction and defiances within the justice system, enables settler attacks. While settlers often face little to no accountability, Palestinians are subject to harsher treatment and a discriminatory legal system, further perpetuating inequality and violence. Accordingly, internationallawyers.org demands the end of the unlawful occupation, urges immediate measures to ensure the protection of the Palestinian people, calls on the international community to refrain from aiding or assisting this illegal situation, and urges the Commission to recognize that Israel's etc. actions constitute acts contributing to the genocide being committed by Israel. Thank you.
Thank you. I give the floor to the representative of Women's International League for Peace and Freedom.
We thank the Commission of Inquiry for its report. Yet the genocide in Gaza continues, and atrocities against Palestinians remain normalized. Among these atrocities is sexual violence in occupied Palestine, used as a deliberate strategy of settler colonial domination. Survivors report forced nudity, sexualized threats, invasive touching, and physical assault by the Israeli military, police, and settlers. As the Commission stated, settlers have increasingly resorted to sexual violence to instill fear and humiliate Palestinian families and human rights defenders. Men, women, and children are targeted. Israeli soldiers and guards, including women, have been documented as perpetrators. This reflects a regime of bodily and reproductive injustice in which Palestinian bodies are treated as sites of punishment across checkpoints, prisons, and homes. Yet, international mechanisms often seek to validate testimonies through the very institutions accused of these harms, further silencing survivors. WILF demands recognition of this violence as an expression of settler colonialism. We call for accountability and for support to Palestinian-led documentation efforts. Justice requires dismantling the system that protects colonial legitimacy. We must move beyond criminal frameworks towards holistic approaches that restore dignity to those whose bodies have been turned into battlegrounds.
This was the last speaker we could accommodate for this dialogue. I now give the floor to the members of the Commission for the concluding remarks. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excellencies, I wish to thank each of the states as well as the non-government organizations that have offered valuable comments on the report of this Commission. I wish to reiterate the commitment of this Commission to adopting the highest standards in terms of gathering of evidence, analysis of evidence using scientific standards, acceptable to the known adjudicatory bodies, the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. Having said that, I would like to reiterate that Israel should permit this Commission to the territories, to access the territories, and to speak to the victims of violence so that we can have a first-hand account of all victims of all forms of violence. This Commission is working to ensure justice to all the victims, irrespective of their nationalities or the territories they belong to in these areas. So I request the State of Israel to cooperate with this Commission to carry out its mandate. I now pass the floor to Justice Mumba, my co-commissioner.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, Chair, for this opportunity. We thank all member states and all groups who have made their statements supporting the Commission's work and challenging it in some state. While the Commission of Inquiry has a mandate, a specific mandate, to handle the atrocities that are happening in the occupied Palestinian territory, we also feel that member states have obligations. The report has been disseminated. The decision of the International Court of Justice has also been disseminated and is well understood, as cited by most of the contributing states on this fora. What is remaining is really action to deal with the perpetrators, non-state actors, Palestinian armed groups, Hamas and the Israeli forces, and institutions that are perpetrating violence in the occupied Palestinian territory. There are international instruments which oblige states to take action. Some states have mentioned about regarding sanctions against named personnel perpetrating violence and atrocities in these countries. And also, when we talk about sanctions, it's not only about against individuals, but also against the international companies that are supporting the perpetrators of violence in this region, and also institutions which operate from Israel or from other countries supporting indirectly or directly these atrocities. We maintain that the Commission is committed to its mandate and to investigate as far as possible, but we also recognize that we have constraints and challenges in terms of time, resources, and requisite personnel to continue with these investigations and to make it clear that our mandate is doable given positive support from all member states and all those that are concerned with these deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you. A number of states in commenting asked questions, and the common theme in most of those questions was what more can be done. Ireland said, what steps can states take? Indonesia said, how can we strengthen accountability principles? New Zealand said, what more can the international community do? The United Kingdom said, what steps can be taken for countering impunity? Our Commission has now released 16 reports. We'll be releasing our 17th next week, dealing with the situation of children. And all of our reports make recommendations. We must move beyond expressing deep concern and strong condemnation to addressing the questions that these states have asked today. What more can be done? Many states referred to positive actions that have been taken, sanctions on individuals. What more can be done is to start targeting institutions, not just settlers, but settlements themselves, to prevent the transfer of financial assistance, whether through trade or donations. Many states are still allowing tax deductibility for local organisations that make direct or indirect financial contributions to settlements. Accountability is not about the leaders alone. Malaysia raised the question of dual citizens. Anyone who has served in the Israeli Defence Forces in Gaza since October 2023 must be considered a suspect for the commission of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crime of genocide. The issue of accountability extends beyond warrants issued by the International Criminal Court. And speaking of that court, what has been done to support the court while it is under attack from the United States? What has been done to support the Special Rapporteur? The attention now must move beyond concern and condemnation to action.
I thank the members of the Commission of Inquiry. This brings us to the end of this interactive dialogue. I wish to thank the members once again for their participation and their contribution. We will now take a short break before holding the interactive dialogue on the annual report of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights.